code has stop again, and sometimes it does that 3 times every hour, so that's super annoying. But I cannot really do anything about it.
Life in the city comes at you at 1,000 meters a second. According to a recent study, the average city dweller is subjected to over 60,000 forms of stimuli on any given day. With that much information beamed into your brain, it's not surprising that some people can react a little differently. Desmond Flay, known as Des to his friends and family, was by all accounts a quiet and respectful young man, which made his actions on March 8, 2938 even more surprising. It was described as a joyride like no other. A high-speed chase in the skies that covered several hundred miles of urban airspace. Within an hour, he had thousands of adoring fans who watched the authorities scramble to catch him. But Des saved his best surprise for last. When captured, local police asked why he did it. Des reportedly took a look around, smiled, and said, "I just wanted some peace and quiet." See your local ship dealer for financing options. Certain restrictions apply.
I'm eating some Christmas cookies. Christmas cookies.
All systems online.
some super nice ships. It is. But they need to finish more of the game, the Star System, so they have not even finished the Stanton systems, so they should spend more time on that. My upload has stopped again, so I'll just add 2 files. I'm not adding more because my upload still keeps stopping. Yes, this is the Relan. I don't know how you say that, with a star and a planet 1. Protoplanets, a rocky protoplanet that lacks an atmosphere, and I still don't know what a protoplanet is. And Relay 2, Habitat no, that's a puffy planet. I don't know what a puffy planet is. We have smog planets, we have all kinds of, but I don't know what they are, so that should make a link. A gas giant, those close proximity to the system star results in high surface temperatures, classified as a puffy planet. Its atmosphere has a large radius and very low density. That's Richla 3, Habitat no, terrestrial rocky. A terrestrial rocky world, unlike to be terraformed due to its surface of dense, jagged rocks. The planet also has a thin atmosphere and a very rapid rotation. And this is the green band. We have terrestrial rocky, habitals, yes, Shorver, the Relan 4. This terraformed terrestrial world is covered in former military barracks and factories. When the Cold War ended and the XN began converting Shore into an industrial hub, human business are encouraged to establish office here among the many business parks, making this planet an interesting mixture of human and XN cultures. Yes. Yes. Called Xi, the Relan 5, Super Earth habitat, yes. Xi is a heavily populated super Earth that is home to an estimated 50 to 100 billion XN. Visitors and traders are welcome, but restricted to a landing zone in the city of Corellia. So that would take really long time to design a planet like that, and the whole star system, and the Stanton star system is even not finished. In the 3.5, in the 3 months, the Arc Core planet will come in 2 months. And I still think this another planet, the outer planet called a micro something, is still missing. Foreigners are forbidden from leaving the landing zone as the surrounding area is filled with dense tropical vegetation. A community of UEE expatriates and polytechnic refugees have been grown. Yes. We have another one far, far, far out. Rehan 6. Dwarf planets. Habitat no. This dwarf planet has no atmosphere. Its orbit it's so distant the light. The light from the system star is barely visible, so that's very low, dim. That could be interesting to visit. Yes, that's a very big star system. Yes, let's see what they are saying about that. The relaunch, that's 20 minutes video.
Hello, I'm Dave Haddock, lead writer over here at CIG, and welcome to another episode of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy, the show where we talk about stuff, specifically galaxy stuff. More specifically, the Star Citizen galaxy, to give you not only a look at the system itself, but some of the thinking behind some of the choices that we have made. So, today we're going to do something a little special. Last time I stumbled my way through one of these, we did a breakdown of the Vandal-controlled Orion system. So I thought it'd be fun to stick with another alien system. As you may have seen from the language video that we released a few months ago, we've been working to develop the Xi'an language with Britton, our xenolinguistic specialist. And so anyway, our conversations with him has started to lead to some interesting discussions about various aspects of the Xi'an culture. So he can build a language to make sense of it, because you have to, do they have a word for blank? That type of stuff. And then in answering that, you end up asking yourself deeper questions. So it's led to some really interesting and fascinating things. So since I've been delving into a lot of the pits of Xi'an lore, if you will, it is fresh on the mind. So this week, we are going to head to the R'hllor system. Now, before we get started, it's also important to note that as the languages started to come together, part of what Britton has been doing in his work has been going through the previously established systems and planets and stuff, and sort of modifying them to conform them to the language. Because obviously, a lot of these systems and planets and stuff were made or conceived and named years ago. So at the time, we had no idea, specifically I had no idea, what the language was going to ultimately sound like. So while at the time, the goal was to not make them sound ridiculous, now that we have the framework of a language, we now can sort of rename them with more authority and make them consistent with the language. And he's done what he can to try and keep them somewhat similar, so we're not kind of completely, salting the earth type thing. But anyway, so we're actually going to eventually update the star map to reflect these new names. So be sure to check back in, and we'll let you know when they've changed. So with that, we shall, I think that's caveated enough. We will drop into the star map. So again, we'll start on Earth here, and now Sol system, of course. Okay, so zooming out from Sol. All right, I'm going to go into 2D mode because it's very easy to get turned around. So coming from Earth, over here, I always kind of use it as the sort of the Eastern systems, just to kind of justify it in my own head, even though obviously there's no regimented geography in that regard. But over here is where you have the Xi'an systems, which are all these green bad boys right there. So the system that we are talking about today is the R'hllor system right here. So you can see basically it is situated right on the edge of the Perry line. So the Perry line, which was this sort of very famous demilitarized zone that existed between or no man's land. I'm not sure if demilitarized zone is accurate, but we'll run with it. Between human space and Xi'an space, which was sort of like, it was a very dangerous thing area. No one lived there because there was, at any moment, they were afraid that a war would basically break out. So in the wake of the sort of the Messer despots getting tossed out, one of the first things that the humans did is a sort of a, hey, we're really sorry about that whole, fascist dictator thing, and threat of war was to dismantle the Perry line, and they basically divided the systems between the Xi'an and the humans. So the blue ones here, Tohil, Oya, Gursul, Horus, are all the human ones, and then Pallas, Hader, Indra are the ones that were given to the Xi'an. All of which, in case you've noticed, are named after gods of war. So these are the sort of military designations of them. So anyway, so R'lah, situated right here, is connected to not one, but two of them. So a pretty, a dangerous place to be if you're worried that the humans are going to decide to get really ambitious and rambunctious and try to invade you. So sort of unsurprisingly, R'lah was a military system. So they basically kind of shored up their defenses there and turned it into a military system. So anyway, dropping into it, the system itself, what is the R'lah system? Okay, so the system itself, as you can see here, is basically 6 planets. So 2 of which are inhabited, and I'll trust you all, you can kind of pick through here on your own time if you'd like to get the sort of nitty-gritty specific stuff, but just to give you kind of a quick rundown, R'lah 1, R'lah 2 here, and R'lah 3, by category, you have a protoplanet, a puffy planet, and a rocky planet, which sounds like a band name. And then out here, you've got R'lah 6, which is sort of this lonely dwarf planet that's just kind of out on the rid. So as far as the inhabited ones, you have 2. There is R'lah 4, which is known as Shorvu, had been designated as a military base. So specifically, actually to backtrack a little bit, Xi'an are very notorious for what we call geo-planning. So they basically will allocate planets for single-use kind of function. So they'll have production planets, and they'll have ag worlds, and they'll have habitation planets and stuff like that. So this is basically was just a military planet. So it was designed and constructed to house, train, and hold troops, basically. So in the advent of a human-Xi'an war, they could basically launch relatively quickly and would be the sort of first line of defense against the humans. But with the dissolution of the Perry line, now it's not as necessary to have a sort of standing military force this close to the border. So the Xi'an have started turning it into an industrial world. So basically opening the doorway for a lot of Xi'an corporations to move in and set up factories. The other planet, habited planet that is R'lah 5, called Z, is a habitation planet. So its primary function is to provide residences. So it's basically just a populated world. So general backstory for the whole system, as far as how we discovered it, it was actually discovered by nav explorer Marie Santi, who also discovered the Horus system over here. And it was her discovery of R'lah in 2542 that caused the government to move into Horus and basically declare it a security risk and seal it to non-military personnel, which sent her on a very interesting, kind of unique journey. If you're interested in that story, we'll post a link. There's a galactic guide about the Horus system that goes into it, and we'll post it here-ish somewhere. So to get back into it, ask the question, what is the R'lah system? So you've heard the astronomical data, 6 planets, and a bit of the flavors about each of the planets and stuff like that. But one of the things that we like to talk about in Warmakers is sort of what is the character of the system? So what makes it unique in the Star Citizen universe? And and we're also going to try something a little different here with this as well. We're going to show basically some of the early concepts that were done a few years ago that were done for some of these planets. And just to, again, throw another caveat out there, like these are pretty old, so elements of these are probably going to change, but they're really pretty and give you kind of a sort of a sense of what the initial early thinking of it is. So we'll show off one of these. So the first one here, one of the things you'll notice with both of these actually is there's a lot of verticality. While the actual architectural styles might differ or be changed completely or something like that, I think that the element of verticality has always been something that's been tied very strongly with the Xi'an. You see it in the Car2All, and in one of these pictures you see these sort of hanging bat vertical like ship dock things. I think that's the Volber. I'm not sure what ship that is. I really don't remember. I think it's the Volber. I don't know what's happening there. Anyway, I don't know if it's in there. Anyway, so, but you can see them kind of flying clear and suspended here. But like that's one of the things that has always kind of stuck with the Xi'an, was this element of like verticality. And we were talking earlier today actually about sort of what was the sort of origin of that. So it was a kind of an interesting discussion, and like I said, we'll kind of start teasing out some of the resolutions of these conversations in the near future. But yeah, so I have a feeling that that's going to be one of the things that kind of sticks with whatever the newer incarnations of these concepts are going to be. But so anyway, so we'll talk a little bit about Shoreview. So the landing zone on Shoreview is called Yati, which is sort of a business-oriented. Like it's supposed to be sort of like a business park, was kind of the idea. And it was designed to be sort of a place for humans to come to who are interested in Xi'an products. So MISC has offices here, for example, APOA too. And I thought it'd be kind of fun too to also sort of talk about how the Xi'an society handles corporations. We sort of mentioned it briefly in the Jump Point portfolio article we did for APOA. So the Xi'an have a very different approach to business than humans do. If you take a look at that article, one of the things that we talked about, there's a sort of bureaucratic branch of the government that the emperor is in charge of that handles sort of the bureaucracy as well as the military. So they're all kind of unified in this sort of one organization. But what they do is basically the government assigns specific contracts to single companies to be responsible for a single manufacturing object or item or something. So for example, APOA is responsible for, and the only ones legally allowed to construct, a light craft in the Xi'an Empire. So the Car2All is basically no one else. You would not have sort of a competing, scout type ship like APOA are the ones. They have been sort of deemed the ones to be able to build this stuff. So it was basically a way for the corporations to feel very different than humans, but also kind of to dip in the same ponds but feel different enough that they feel like sort of a unique society. But that isn't to say, of course, that the companies are responsible for the entire construction of them. So APOA could basically subcontract out to smaller companies to try and fulfill the sort of component needs that they need in order to deliver the ship and stuff like that. And the end result being that if you are the company that's been given these sort of lucrative contracts, then you're getting government aid and support, which is something that obviously bolsters your company's power and influence and stuff like that. So that's sort of a little bit about the Xi'an business. So now, to flip the script, we will head over to Xi to talk about their landing zone. So they actually have a landing zone called Korea, which is much more of a sort of a trading post crossroads type thing. And basically it's mostly known because it's a community haven for UEE expatriates and political refugees who